According to a report by the International Fertilizer Development Center, 75% of farmland in the African continent is severely degraded, resulting in low stagnant yields and a deficiency in vital minerals in food crop. In fact, according to the Kenya Agricultural Research Institute, Kenyan soils are so degraded that it might take up to 30 years to correct them.
You will be surprised the number of people who are not aware that they need to test or that some testing goes on.
Miaka ile yote nalima abana kupata kitu ya kukula ibaki diede kuusha. Hakuna.
Remember, there's this saying that we did not inherit the soil from our grandfathers. We've just borrowed it from our grandchildren.
Welcome to Project Green. Now obviously agriculture is a mainstay of our economy, but years of poor farming practices and soil management have degraded our general agricultural resource base, leading to decreasing yields and high production costs. I'm here at Crop Nutrition Laboratory Services, an organization that offers practical farming solutions to farmers across the country.
The general condition of majority of soils in Kenya is acidic. This means that the soils have a very low pH, and some of the factors that have contributed to this is use of fertilizers over and over years. The nutrients are getting depreciated over and over, and the pH is getting lower and lower. 50-20 years down the line, if we continue the way we are, we'll not have soil. We'll have soil because you can see, but it will be very poor soil, which is not beneficial. So like this is pH which is being determined here.
Here I'm introduced to one of the most basic principles of sustainable agriculture, soil analysis, which is still a very alien concept for many farmers in Kenya. When soil samples are brought in, they are logged into a computer system for easy identification and tracking. After undergoing various preliminaries like drying and sieving, the samples proceed for proper analysis, and after 7 days, a detailed analysis report is ready, along with a recommendation to the farmer. Small-scale farming contributes to an estimated 75% of the country's agricultural output. In Banana in Kiambu County, I meet 65-year-old Mama Njoroge. She has been a farmer all her life, but like many smallholder farmers in Kenya, she is barely able to provide for her daily needs. It is estimated that about 5 million of them live in poverty and are not food secure themselves.
Gaeka pesa mingi usida mavuno. Mavuno ni kidogo na pesa ile niliweka kwa shamba ni mingi. Gaeka mbolea ngona sijui kama ni msanga baya, kama ni mimi bado nalima msuri sabasawa wale wengine.
Mama Njoroge has been experiencing decreasing yields over the years despite increased farm inputs and production costs. She admits that she has no knowledge on the type of inputs to buy, their quantities, or even why she is buying them in the first place.
So the chances of crop failure here, because of lack of organic matter, is very high, as opposed to a soil that is rich in organic matter.
Unanunua fertilizer kutoka kwa agrovet. Mimi nanunuanga kwa duka. Na unajua aje ile utatumia? Ni kuona watu wengine wanafanya namna hiyo. Nasema hata mimi nitafanya namna hiyo.
For the last 50 years, farmers have been applying inappropriate input. Number two, they've been applying the wrong quantities. Either there is underdosing or there is overdosing. Because of course when you apply the wrong input, it doesn't work. You go for another alternative, it doesn't work. Your cost of production goes up. That is the one part. The next aspect is, because you are not applying the right inputs, definitely your yields will go down. So you bring down the yields as you increase the production cost, you minimize your profit. Then agriculture becomes unattractive, it becomes uncompetitive.
The effects of these poor farming practices also take a toll on the environment.
I will tell you, something like the soil pH, the level of acidity, determines how much fertilizer becomes available and gets used. When the pH is so low, most of the fertilizer remains in the soil as insoluble salts. When the rains come, all that is washed into the rivers, into the fish that we consume, the water that we drink, into the ecosystem, and it ends up poisoning the environment. You consider this 2 seasons per year for 50 years, it's like applying it 100 times. The damage to the environment so far unquantified, but I can tell you it's phenomenal. Sasa hii ni moja ya mchanga yako ile tunataka kwenda kupima.
Today, Crop Nutrition Services will be taking soil samples from Mama Njoroge's farm. In about a week, she will be armed with the right information and be on the right path in making her farming more sustainable. In Thika, I meet another farmer who a while back had been grappling with the same challenges of low farm yields and high production costs and a lack of awareness on what exactly to do.
The yield was very low. You'd find a full-grown mature pod is about this size. And that's it.
It doesn't get past
It doesn't get past that. Before was really bad because the before was like a ton in an acre. And now I would say it's been what? It's been a season since I did the test and applied whatever I was advised to apply, and actually managed to do 3 tons. 3 tons. So moving forward, I'm going to reduce on some fertilizer I used to use. So definitely the cost will go down, and the yield is so much better. Yeah. So the profits are good.
So we want the farmer to know that soil analysis is very important for them. Yeah. If they want to sustain high yields, they need to know the status of their soil.
Lime and gypsum are 2 of the most critical soil correction inputs, but interestingly, they are not readily available in most agrovet stores.
Na iko wakulima wamekuja kuuliza lime hata wakahawa. Yes. Uko nayo? Lime. Lime hauna?
Gypsum.
First of all, the absence is artificial. When you talk about soil conditions, for example, we're basically recommending lime, which is a natural mineral, mined and ground. Okay. We also have burnt lime. They are available in hardwares across the country, but as building lime. The farmer doesn't know that this same lime can be used to ameliorate the shamba. Okay? We're recommending gypsum. You will find that most hardwares have gypsum for one reason or the other, but the agrovets don't have gypsum because they don't know the agricultural use, and there is no demand. So I think what we need to do is, out of the sensitization and awareness, out of the adoption of the soil analysis technology, then we create a demand for this product. Habari gani? Hey, Njoroge, habari. Habari mami.
A few days later, Nathaniel is back with the results of the soil analysis and the recommendations for Mama Njoroge.
Na hii ndio matokeo ya mama. Okay. Kwa hivyo hapa ukiangalia tumeona shida kubwa kabisa huko nayo kwanza ni acid. Iko na acid mingi sana. Sawa sawa. Iko lime.
A short text message of the recommendations is also sent to her phone for quick reference. So, Mama Wadhoni and his son Njoroge are now in the know about what it is they need to do to take their agriculture and yields to the next level. But many Kenyans are still in the dark when it comes to new technologies and ways of doing things. Let's join Dan as he discusses this further on Green Talk next.
Welcome back. Now, factors such as climate change, endemic poverty, and a lack of information are constantly challenging agricultural production in Kenya. Now, if farming strategies are not updated, then the road to sustainable food production will continue to be a very difficult one indeed. In studio today, we have Ben Okeo, Deputy Chairman of Sustainable Practical Program for Africa, Paul Ruoya from the Upper Turasha Water Users Association, and Yariv Kedar, the Deputy Managing Director, Amiran Kenya. Welcome, gentlemen, to Green Talk. When we talk about sustainable and modern farming practices. What exactly are we talking about?
When we are speaking of sustainable agribusiness, I'm looking for taking subsistence farming to make it sustainable farming for the small-scale farmer. They have to have the knowledge to know what they don't know or to know what they need to do. They have to have the abilities that someone will, at least at the beginning, will accompany them in order for them to succeed, to practice and to make the things right for them to succeed.
Right.
And the third thing is high quality inputs.
Yeah, this sounds pretty good, and a lot of good things you're talking about there. Paul, I don't know, in your experience, in the work that you do, how much of these new technologies or strategies are actually being implemented down at the grassroots level?
The situation is so bad to the farmers. And like the situation I'm handling right now, my farmers these are small-scale farmers, and the terrain is so steep, and there's a lot of soil erosion being carried out anytime you have the rains. And so we are likely to lose the topsoil, which is critical for farming. And this is what we as an association is trying to address. But I'm telling you, challenges are so much there at the catchment, but we are still trying to address this. Holistically, that's why we are interested in working together with the people downstream and the upstream to see how we can sustain the activities upstream there.
All right.
Yes.
Ben Okeo, yes. How can he access these really good things, that Yariv is talking about? How can you make it, practicable for them to be able to be part of this, this movement?
The most important is to empower farmers to be able to adapt the modern technologies. Whatever the kind of crop farmer is producing should be able to empower, to improve his or her livelihood. As he strives to improve on production, a farmer should also strive to improve on the ecology. Then thirdly, as they do the two, the third one is to embrace the socialness, togetherness, because when the social is improved, then these people will be able even to share the ideas as they come in.
How do you get the buy-in from the individual farmers who are basically just trying to put some food on the table?
Climate smart agriculture does not entail spending a lot of money. Even a poor farmer who only owns a quarter of an acre can practice climate smart agriculture, because you only need a small place, a small portion of land, and then it's subdivided with the advice of the experts on agriculture. Then he'll be able to use the technology and he'll be able to get a high yield.
Ben's way of thinking is definitely the right way, and that we all want it. But in order to achieve it, if the farmer has an empty stomach, he doesn't care about the animals, he doesn't care about the environment, he doesn't care about everything. And we are trying to do such a thing. We are doing like in training centers to teach them all in all, also taking care of the ground, like making rotation and using the ground more smartly. Even if it's a small piece of land, they have to grow more from less. To grow more from less, they have to use modern technology, which costs money. It costs money, it's not for free. They will have to be committed, but someone will escort them hand in hand to take them to the school and to grow them.
We're implementing a program that is very unique in this country, because payment for environmental service, we want this farmer to be empowered. Now, what we have done for our case, we have brought in the people upstream and downstream. The downstream people who benefit from the waters that flow to the lake, because the lake Naivasha is getting a lot of money from the sales of the flowers. They pump in some money, they plow in some money back to the people up there. And then it's the responsibility, the obligation of the farmer, the small-scale farmer, to take care of his farm so that the siltation does not go to the lake. We have been able to achieve this, and it's coming up very well.
All right.
By the way, if it can be replicated in the whole country, this can be fantastic.
Now, in conclusion, what would be your final statement in terms of reaching that individual farmer and looking at sustainable farming practices, for years to come?
For having sustainable agriculture, we have our job of all of us, through partnerships with whoever is interested. If it's a private sector, like Amira in Kenya, what we have to do is empower them with the knowledge, to give them the tools, empower them with the capacity to grow, and also to keep some of the funds for the next season, not to eat all the money in the first season. This is a mistake that many are doing. To teach them to use the right inputs for them to grow out of the poverty, so they will create from a very small area money to their pocket. This is the idea, and we are training by giving hands in hand, by working together, like in Naivasha. Even the flower farms in Naivasha, they are helping a lot the small-scale farmers, not only by giving them jobs, but also by many farms are teaching them, giving them courses, teaching them how to improve them on themselves.
Thank you very much, Yarif. I think we are quite very good ideas here, and also very good work that each one of you is doing, individually in your own work. So that's very commendable. But unfortunately, we'll have to end our discussion here today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being on Green Talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, so from our discussion, it is clear that to increase agricultural productivity, there is need to embrace newer technologies and modern farming approaches, pretty much like what we're just about to see on Green Hero. That's after the break. Don't go away.
The name Rocha is Portuguese, meaning the rock. We are a Christian organization, and so our conservation is actually really based on this care of creation message that the Bible really talks a lot about. Farming God's Way is actually a community conservation program. Our soils have become poor, and actually with every farming we're doing, every year in this country, the soils are getting poorer and poorer, and pushing the farmer more to the shop. There are microorganisms in the soil. These microorganisms are good because they break down the soil, they provide nutrients for the crops. When you go and do plowing, you're overturning those microorganisms and exposing them to the sun. You release the moisture. In Africa, you release moisture, you're losing gold. Moisture is what will ensure that your crop really does well. Imagine what happens here. You are really exposing this soil. Get another 1 hour of sunshine here. This place will be dry. You must integrate Farming God's Way with trees. When you incorporate trees, of course, you're incorporating another whole big ecosystem. You're incorporating butterflies that want to breed on that tree, and then now those butterflies can pollinate your beans, and you can get higher yields of beans. But you are allowing this other huge diversity to come and take effect in your farm. Farming God's Way, you don't plow, you cover the ground heavily with mulch. Covering heavily with mulch can take you a bit of time even than plowing. But the wonderful thing, after you do that covering, that will be the first and the last one. You continue adding a bit of mulch when the termites take it down and that sort of thing. You just keep adding quite a bit of it. Because you're weeding, you don't need a panga, you don't need a djembe, you don't need anything. And because you're doing it timely, the weed is still small, You just remove it and put it down there. With the Farming God's Way, don't encourage farmers to go to the shop to buy fertilizer. If you manage your farm well, you can get fertilizer from the farm. You can get your pesticide from that farm. What you see right here is a common weed in Kenya called Tithonia diversifolia. From this weed, we get the leaves. We pound them, put them in water overnight. Tomorrow you spray that. It will kick off lots of your pests. Farming God's Way is cheaper, way cheaper than the conventional farming. But then also, you're responding to the general environment. You're not just thinking about maximizing production, No, you are encouraging production, but then also encouraging it in a sustainable way. Because you've saved on your water, you've saved on your weeding, you saved on the mandawa. Farmers should be the most happy people.
Conservation agriculture is farming using minimum tillage. Agriculture can be made more sustainable by using modern ways of farming. Conservation agriculture, it's one of the ways of modernizing farming. You can preserve the moisture within the soil, you can preserve the nutrients by using more advanced technologies in farming. Kenya is moving towards modernizing its farming. We now have new land policies that require minimum farming sizes. And now with more advanced farming coming in, we have to compete with the global market. In 10 years' time, we shall have sustainable agricultural practices in almost all parts of Kenya. Kenya has to embrace sustainable agriculture so that we preserve our soils, we preserve our environment, and we produce food both for livestock and for human consumption.
Mimi naitwa Samuel Mushara na ni mkulima katika Gong, pahali panaitwa Ololua. Niko na shamba ya 3/4 acre na ningetaka kujua vile nitaongeza mazao yangu ya kilimo kwa ukulima na niendelee nikihifadhi mazingira.
I would recommend that before you do any planting, say for instance the cabbages or for instance tomatoes or rice or whatever it is that you are growing, it is good for you to actually understand the crop requirement, nutrition aspect of it, so that since we've used our farms for many years, of course, it's also good for you to do a soil test, so that you are able to, you are advised specifically on the kind of fertilizer or the kind of amendment to do to your soil, because more often than not, you find that maybe when you overdo the fertilizer, sometimes that fertilizer is washed and then it goes in the environment, becoming harmful eventually to other places which was not intended for the fertilizer to be put. And the other bit is on the crop protection aspect, because of course we know there are enemies that are within when you're doing your production that will affect you negatively, especially on the quality of your produce, and sometimes that will make you lose when you take your product to the market. So you also need to protect your crop against pests and diseases, but we recommend that you do it responsibly. You do it, nowadays there are chemicals that are environmental friendly that you can apply, and they will not affect a pest that is not on target.
Well, that's all we had for you today. Remember, precision farming, that's the buzzword if we're going to move to the next level in guaranteeing a food-secure nation and sustainable agriculture. See you next week on Project Green.
Na muangalie TV. Mwenye hana decoder arudue decoder juu ikizima kama mjaniona nitakasirika.
Yo. Ate. Mimati nini?
The other one, if it doesn't work, I'll just stand there and do it. But it will work in Jesus' name. Let's go. Hi, welcome to Project Green.